How can someone who avoids adventure at every turn still become one of Middle-earth's most beloved heroes? Bilbo Baggins is a classic reluctant hero. He doesn't desire adventure, glory, or recognition. In fact, he actively resists leaving his comfortable life in the Shire. But throughout The Hobbit, Bilbo's journey from an unwilling participant to a courageous figure shows that heroism isn't defined by seeking danger, but by rising to the occasion when it's thrust upon you. His reluctance allows for an unexpected transformation, as he uncovers strength and resourcefulness even he didn't know he had. Why is Bilbo so resistant to leaving the Shire in the first place? Bilbo's deep attachment to the Shire is the key to his reluctance. His life in Hobbiton is one of peace, predictability, and comfort. Adventure, to Bilbo, represents chaos and unpredictability, which he associates with discomfort and danger. His resistance comes not from fear of failure, but from his love of stability and home. The Bagginses had lived in the neighborhood of the hill for time out of mind, and people considered them very respectable, not only because most of them were rich, but also because they never had any adventures or did anything unexpected. Bilbo's reluctance is rooted in his love for the simple pleasures of the Shire. His journey begins with him being pulled away from everything he holds dear, which makes his eventual transformation even more remarkable. What does Gandalf see in Bilbo that makes him believe this hobbit is capable of great things? Gandalf recognizes that Bilbo's potential is hidden beneath his surface reluctance. When Gandalf proposes an adventure, Bilbo is shocked and unwilling, but the wizard knows that only through challenge will Bilbo realize his own strength. Gandalf's role is to push Bilbo beyond his comfortable limits, believing in Bilbo's potential even when the hobbit himself does not. "But I have no time to blow smoke rings this morning. I am looking for someone to share in an adventure that I am arranging, and it's very difficult to find anyone," said Gandalf. "I should think so in these parts. We are plain quiet folk and have no use for adventures. Nasty, disturbing, uncomfortable things make you late for dinner. I can't think what anybody sees in them," said our Mr. Baggins. Gandalf's challenge is the first push that Bilbo needs. By introducing uncertainty into Bilbo's predictable life, Gandalf sets in motion the journey that will allow Bilbo to grow, even if Bilbo resists at first. What inner conflict keeps Bilbo from fully embracing adventure? Bilbo is torn between his two family heritages, the safe, comfortable Baggins side and the adventurous Took side. This inner conflict defines his reluctance. The Took side, which comes from his mother's adventurous lineage, stirs a curiosity and yearning for the unknown. However, his Baggins side constantly pulls him back, fearing change and risk. Throughout his journey, Bilbo must reconcile these opposing forces to embrace his true potential. As they sang, the hobbit felt the love of beautiful things made by hands and by cunning and by magic moving through him, a fierce and a jealous love, the desire of the hearts of dwarves. Then something Tookish woke up inside him, and he wished to go and see the great mountains and hear the pine trees and the waterfalls and explore the caves and wear a sword instead of a walking stick. This passage highlights the inner struggle that makes Bilbo such an intriguing character. His reluctance is fueled by his Baggins side, while his Took side beckons him toward adventure. His eventual acceptance of his Tookish nature is key to his transformation. Why does Bilbo finally agree to join the adventure, despite his deep reluctance? Bilbo's decision to join Thorin and the dwarves is not a calculated or brave move. It's impulsive and hesitant. Pushed into action more by circumstance than choice, Bilbo finds himself swept into the adventure without fully understanding why. His reluctance remains, but this unwilling start is the first step in his journey of growth. To the end of his days, Bilbo could never remember how he found himself outside, without a hat, a walking stick, or any money, pushing his keys into Gandalf's hands and running as fast as his furry feet could carry him down the lane. Bilbo's reluctant decision to join the quest shows that heroism doesn't always begin with confidence. His impulsive start underscores the theme that even the most uncertain beginnings can lead to great transformations. How does Bilbo's reluctance impact his early challenges on the journey? Bilbo's reluctance continues to show as the group encounters early challenges, such as trolls and goblins. He longs for the safety of home and often doubts his role in the company. However, these trials force Bilbo to step up, and each small victory, though accidental at times, builds his confidence. His growth is slow, but the seeds of heroism begin to sprout. Bilbo knew it. He had read of a good many things he had never seen or done. He was very much alarmed as well as disgusted, He wished himself 100 miles away, and yet somehow he could not go straight back to Thorin and company empty-handed. So he stood and hesitated in the shadows. Bilbo's early reluctance doesn't disappear overnight, but with each challenge, he learns something new about himself. His small successes, even when clumsy, set the foundation for his later bravery. What does Bilbo's encounter with Gollum reveal about his emerging heroism? Bilbo's meeting with Gollum in the dark caves is a crucial moment in his transformation. Despite being terrified, Bilbo uses his wits to survive the riddle contest, showing that intelligence, rather than brute strength, will define his heroism. His reluctance to kill Gollum, even when given the chance, also reveals a moral depth that will continue to grow throughout his journey. "What have I wonder?" he said to himself as he panted and stumbled along. He put his left hand in his pocket. The ring felt very cold as it quietly slipped onto his groping forefinger. Bilbo's cleverness in escaping Gollum and his decision to spare his life marks a significant step in his development. His heroism is not about seeking glory, but about survival and mercy, characteristics that make his journey uniquely compelling. How does Bilbo's confidence begin to shift as the journey progresses? By the time the company enters Mirkwood, Bilbo has started to come into his own. His defeat of the giant spiders shows that he is no longer just along for the ride. He is an active participant in their survival. Naming his sword, Sting, signifies his increasing confidence and a deeper understanding of his role as more than just a burglar. The spider lay dead beside him, and his sword blade was stained black. Somehow, the killing of the giant spider, all alone by himself in the dark, without the help of the wizard or the dwarves or of anyone else, made a great difference to Mr. Baggins. He felt a different person and much fiercer and bolder in spite of an empty stomach as he wiped his sword on the grass and put it back into its sheath. "I will give you a name," he said to it, "and I shall call you Sting." Bilbo's bravery in Mirkwood demonstrates that his reluctant heroism is transforming into true leadership. His willingness to take action marks a turning point where his confidence begins to rival his initial reluctance. How does Bilbo's confrontation with Smaug reveal his bravery despite his initial reluctance? Bilbo's decision to enter Smaug's lair is the ultimate test of his courage. Although he is still fearful, he faces the dragon with cleverness and composure, outwitting Smaug in a battle of words. Bilbo's heroism here is not about fighting, but about survival and strategy, showing that even reluctant heroes can rise to meet the greatest challenges. It was at this point that Bilbo stopped. Going on from there was the bravest thing he ever did. The tremendous things that happened afterwards were as nothing compared to it. He fought the real battle in the tunnel alone before he ever saw the vast danger that lay in wait. Bilbo's confrontation with Smaug is a testament to his growing bravery. His actions are no longer driven by reluctance, but by necessity and courage, proving that heroism can come from unlikely places. How does Bilbo's decision to give the Arkenstone to Bard demonstrate his moral growth? Bilbo's choice to hand over the Arkenstone to Bard and the elves is one of the most morally courageous acts in the story. Despite knowing that Thorin will likely view this as a betrayal, Bilbo values peace and justice over loyalty to Thorin's greed. His willingness to make difficult moral decisions, even at personal cost, solidifies his place as a true hero. "I may be a burglar, or so they say. Personally, I never really felt like one. But I am an honest one, I hope, more or less. Anyway, I am going back now, and the dwarves can do what they like to me. I hope you will find it useful." Bilbo's decision to give away the Arkenstone is driven by his moral compass. It shows that his heroism extends beyond physical acts of bravery. He also stands for what is right, even when it's difficult. How does Bilbo's journey change him, and what makes him a unique hero by the end of the story? Bilbo returns to the Shire a different hobbit. He's seen danger, faced death, and outsmarted some of the most dangerous creatures in Middle-earth. Yet he remains humble and content with his quiet life. His reluctance never fully disappears, but this is what makes him a unique and beloved hero. He didn't seek out glory, but he found it through his actions. Bilbo's greatest challenge was overcoming his own hesitation and proving that even the most unlikely of heroes can rise to incredible feats. But he isn't the only Baggins to face such trials. Frodo's journey was even more harrowing as he carried the One Ring closer to its destruction. While Bilbo had to find his courage, Frodo had to confront a darker, more personal struggle. Was Frodo's greatest challenge the fiery slopes of Mount Doom, Or was it the burden of the ring and his battle with himself? If you're ready to explore Frodo's ultimate test, click the video on screen now to see how his journey compares.